Ladies and gentlemen, it is official. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez just screamed it out loud for the whole world to hear. He beat us. President Donald J. Trump, back in the White House, standing on the steps of history, just signed the single biggest slap in the face to the radical left that Washington, D.C. has seen in decades. So just this past weekend, as fireworks lit up the sky for America's 249th Independence Day, President Trump's big, beautiful bill roared into law, locking in the largest middle-class tax cut ever, exploding border security funding, and giving working Americans the break that they've begged for since Biden's reckless spending spree buried this country in debt. But while America celebrated, guess who was on the steps of the Capitol? Mascara running, voice was cracking, eyes swollen red. AOC literally sobbing, crying in front of the cameras, warning her followers that 17 million people are doomed, that Trump's ICE force is bigger than most militaries, and that crumbs are all we're getting. Wow. Except here's what she doesn't want you to know. New York Republican Mike Lawler didn't just call her out. He actually torched her spin in front of the whole country. He dropped receipts, facts, truth bombs so big that it left AOC and her talking points in ashes. It let me know if AOC should step down. I want to hear from you guys. Now, in today's video, I want to pull back the curtain on exactly why AOC's meltdown is the best proof Trump's plan is actually working flawlessly, how this new ICE budget just flipped the script at the border, what Lawler really exposed about the so-called cruel cuts, and why Trump's administration is showing America what smart, strategic, patriotic leadership actually looks like, just in time for 2026 and beyond. You're going to want to hear every word, because once you see how deep this meltdown goes, you're going to understand exactly why they're screaming, "He beat us." Now, if you appreciate the updates, take a second, hit the like button, and consider subscribing to the channel. So guys, just a few days after our nation's 249th Independence Day, but this year, the fireworks were not just in the sky. They were actually at the steps of the U.S. Capitol and inside the White House, where President Donald J. Trump signed the landmark big, beautiful bill into law. Now, he didn't pick this day by accident, okay? No, President Trump knew exactly what he was doing, tying this historic piece of legislation to the same spirit that gave birth to America nearly 2.5 centuries ago: freedom, sovereignty, and putting Americans first. Now, if you happen to miss it, picture this, guys. As the ink dried, the skies above the White House were roaring with power. B-2 bombers, F-22 Raptors. They had F-35s just slicing through the clouds. Not for show, but to remind the world that America is strong again, and led by an administration that is smart, strategic, and uncompromising when it comes to defending the people who built this country. So, while President Trump was inside, pen in hand, jets were overhead, guess who was outside the Capitol steps? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, wiping away her tears, voice was cracking, her mascara on her face was running. The whole meltdown, literally screaming to the cameras, "He beat us, he beat us." You can't make this stuff up, guys. There she was, surrounded by sympathetic press, calling it, and I quote, "one of the saddest days in modern American history." But why? Well, it's because her party, the same party that spent years bragging that they would stop Trump's agenda dead in its tracks, just watched him slam through the biggest middle-class tax cut in U.S. history and the biggest border boost, the biggest border security boost that we've ever seen. So this meltdown, this public crying and sobbing, this is not just about one bill. It's actually about a movement that they thought that they would be able to kill back in 2020, only to find out, here we are in 2025, that it's back, it's bigger, and it's not backing down. And if you think that that is dramatic, wait until you hear what triggered this meltdown in the first place and the bombshell truth that the GOP dropped to blow her whole spin. All right, so what exactly pushed AOC over the edge? One word, guys: ICE. So inside of President Trump's big, beautiful bill is what she called an explosion, a border enforcement surge that's just so massive, she had to admit it. This is not a simple budget increase. She wasn't lying about that part, actually, for once, because thanks to this bill, ICE now has more funding than the FBI, the DEA, and the Bureau of Prisons combined. Now, depending upon how you slice the numbers, ICE now has a bigger budget than the military budgets of entire countries, bigger than Israel's, bigger than Italy's, even bigger than Switzerland's. But why? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because for decades, both parties talked about, securing the border, but they never gave our agents the real power to finish the job. Well, President Trump changed that overnight. So while AOC calls it a military on our own soil, real Americans call it long overdue. And here's the best part. This force it's not just stopping illegal crossings. It's geared up to send people back who shouldn't be here. And also in the sanctuary loopholes, it's protecting working Americans from foreign and domestic threats without apology and without compromise. So when you see AOC crying about a military, I want you to remember, she's not crying for you. She's crying for the open border lobby. The same people who watched billions of people flow into handouts for people who broke the law to begin with. And they watched that cash get shut off in one single signature. Let's go ahead and tackle her biggest tearful speech about how 17 million people are going to lose Medicaid, how families are going to go hungry, and small businesses are going to get crushed. Cue Congressman Mike Lawler, New York Republican, front row at the signing, and the guy who dropped the real truth bomb that left AOC broken. He stepped up and he said, wrong, entirely wrong. So here's the reality, guys. Yes, this bill trims the fat, but it protects every single program for the Americans who actually qualify for it. The only people losing out, the ineligible, people who shouldn't have been getting your tax dollars in the first place. So Lawler made it crystal clear. Under Trump's watch, Medicaid, SNAP, and other programs, they stay fully funded for families who need them. Anybody happen to receive, are any of you guys watching the show right now receiving any of those benefits? Just let me know down below. But the difference now, no more loopholes for legal immigrants. No more double dipping. No more $1 million fraud scams draining your paycheck. Let me know if you're happy about this, or let me know if you're not happy about this. Maybe I'm missing something. I want to hear from you guys. Please comment down below. I'm going to read all the comments. So when AOC screams, he beat us, she's right. Because the truth is, the days of milking working class Americans to bankroll non-citizens and fraudsters are over. Trump's making sure your money stays in your community, for your kids, your elderly parents, your small business, not some foreign national who jumped the line. And so you want to know what's even better than this? This was just one of the massive fights that Lawler and Trump's team won inside this bill. Wait until you hear how they pulled off the SALT cap victory that AOC hates even more. Now, Medicare should help you. That's what it was designed to do. Medicare should help you, not drain you. So this is why I chose to stand behind Chapter. They fight to keep your money yours. Ed, 84 years old, he dropped me a comment the other day. He said, saving $684 a year, huge on fixed income. Wow. Ed, thank you so much for letting me know that update. I really appreciate that. Buck, he left a comment too. He said $166 a month, a sweet raise on Social Security. Thanks, Ron and Chapter. Hey, people are saving money every single day with Chapter. You should be one of them. So give our friends at Chapter a call right now. The call is totally free, zero pressure whatsoever, okay? Phone number's down below, 909-563-8279, or hit them up on their website at askchapter.org/Ron. More money in your pocket where it belongs. Can I get an amen for that, right? So now, here's a twist that really ripped the rug out from under AOC's spin machine. It's called the SALT cap fight. Right. And this is where Congressman Mike Lawler showed the entire swamp what real leverage looks like. So Lawler stood his ground and told leadership flat out, no SALT fix, no vote, period. Okay. He forced a deal. What did he get? He got a $40,000 state and local tax deduction cap locked in for the middle class, not for the coastal millionaires that AOC pretends she's fighting for. Okay. So get this, it's capped with a $500,000 income limit. So if you're making over $500,000, you don't get a break. But if you're a working class family in New York, New Jersey, California, Florida, Texas, all those different places where property taxes absolutely exploded during the lockdown years, well, this is money back in your pocket. Let me know if you're in any of those states that I just listed, and let me know where you guys are watching the show from today. So here's the real truth bomb. AOC swears Trump's bill is just a handout for billionaires. But the SALT cap proves that this is a flat out lie. Lawler flipped the script so that real middle class families can finally breathe without having to foot the bill for the ultra rich. Does anybody want to foot the bill for the ultra rich, or do you think that they should be paying their fair share? So while AOC stands on the steps crying about crumbs, she's covering for the fact that her side would have let your property tax burden strangle you. Well, Lawler didn't just block that. He actually turned the tables and exposed her for pretending to care while doing nothing to deliver. I mean, AOC, we already know she lied about her childhood, right? You guys heard about that in one of my previous videos, right? Also, is anybody seeing their property taxes explode? Because I certainly am. Anyway, let me know what you're seeing where you live, because property taxes are going through the roof. And if you happen to have your property taxes escrowed into your mortgage payment's going up. So anyway, it's real. Now, I want to talk about the tax relief that's got the left absolutely scrambling to spin, because this part of President Trump's bill, this is what hits home for millions of working Americans. Get this, guys. So Congressman Lawler, he laid it out point blank. He said, look, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, expanded child tax credit, bigger standard deduction made permanent, boosted senior deduction, more money left in retirees' pockets. And yes, some parts have a sunset date down the road, but that's normal for really any tax package. But the core relief for families, for workers and seniors, it's staying put because Trump's team made it permanent where it matters the most. Meanwhile, what did Democrats want? They fought tooth and nail to expire the standard deduction. They wanted to slash the child tax credit and block the boost for seniors. You heard that right, guys. The same people that were crying, he beat us, they wanted your taxes higher and they wanted your paycheck to be smaller. What's up? Is anybody okay with that? I'm not okay with a smaller paycheck. Are you? So the next time AOC hops on camera, starts crying her little eyeballs out with her mascara running down her face, crying about, crumbs, I want you to remember, the only thing that she is mad about is that working folks get to keep more while her backroom donor is getting less. That's the truth that she can't spend. And this is why she's upset, because her backroom donors, those super rich, uber rich people who fund her campaigns and slide her money under the table, they're mad at her because they're like, look, we paid you all this money. Why are you letting this happen? That's why she's crying. But here's a real kicker, guys. They didn't stop there. Trump's team drew the line in the sand and said, no more hidden tax traps. So wait until you hear how they held the line against the Democrats' final sabotage plan. So I want to break down what almost got slipped into this bill right behind your back, guys. While AOC was on TV calling President Trump's plan crumbs for workers, her own party was behind closed doors trying to rip the whole loaf away. They fought to expire the double standard deduction, which would have meant every single American filing taxes would actually owe more money. Okay? What in the world, right? They pushed to slash the expanded child tax credit, gutting relief for parents trying to raise their kids in Biden's high cost of living mess. Now, you might have to rewind that maybe about 30 seconds back just to hear that whole thing again. I know I gave you an earful, but it's crazy, right? And then they tried to block the senior tax boost, so retirees on fixed incomes would keep bleeding money to cover DC's spending binge. It's crazy. Oh, and guess who slammed the door shut on that plan? President Trump did, with Secretary Scott Bessent, House Speaker Mike Johnson, and guys like Mike Lawler holding the line. No shady backroom deals, no quiet surrender. They just stood up. They stared down the swamp. They made sure that the core relief, the stuff that actually helps working class Americans, didn't just survive, but ended up getting locked in. So when you hear he beat us, echoing through the Capitol steps, that's not just AOC's voice cracking and cracking as she's yelling with her mascara running down her face. This is the old guard realizing their old tricks don't work anymore. Not when you got an administration that knows exactly what it's doing and it does it for you. So here's what really kind of ties all this together. This wasn't just a tax fight. The big, beautiful bill was Trump's signal to America and the world that the days of open borders and endless debt and taxpayers footing the bill for people who end up cheating the system, they're completely over. Border security, stronger than ever. ICE now has the resources to finish what the fence and the wall started. And they're going to find, detain, and send home those people who break our immigration laws. National defense, bigger, better funded military readiness, not the bloated waste that DC loves to feed. Actual assets, actual protection. Domestic energy. Trump's team is making sure that America can power itself without having to beg OPEC or handing over leverage to Beijing. And the deficit. Let's not forget about the deficit. Trump and Scott Bessent just took the first swing at a $36 trillion problem that was left behind by Biden's $5 trillion blowout. And President Trump did not mince words. When asked what's the difference between, this term compared to his first term, he looked straight in the camera and he said, I have more power now. Because this time he's proven the model, cleared out the backstabbers, and he surrounded himself with people who deliver. And if AOC wants to scream about it on the Capitol steps, well, good, because because every tear is just proof that they tried to kill, it's proof of what they tried to kill back in 2020. The America First revival is alive, it's strong, and it's just getting started. So here's the real headline that nobody in mainstream press wants in your feed today. AOC didn't just have a bad day. She had a total political breakdown. She stood there sobbing, crying, voice cracking on the steps of the United States Capitol, screaming that he beat us. And she's right. She really is right. Trump did beat them, not with some shady backroom trip, but with a clear strategic plan that put your family ahead of the DC games. She and her crew were banking on some endless border loopholes, and those are gone. They counted on blank checks for anyone who could cross the border. That's gone. They banked on you. They banked on the taxpayer, funding Medicaid fraud, SNAP scams, sanctuary cities gone. They banked on you never seeing a real tax break again. All of that's gone. Meanwhile, real working families just got no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, a permanent standard deduction boost, more money for your parents, more protection for seniors, and an immigration force with the funding to finally enforce the law and not just talk about it. So when you see AOC's meltdown making the rounds online, remember, she's not broken because Trump's bill is cruel. She's broken because it works. It works for the factory worker. It works for the waitress, the truck driver, the mom with 2 kids, the retired couple on a fixed income, the people the swamp forgot, the people Trump never did, okay? So here's the real truth bomb to leave you with, okay? AOC's tears are not a tragedy. They're a warning shot to every globalist, open border, tax hike politician in DC. Trump's second term isn't talk, it's action. And the big beautiful bill is just the opening salvo. So he didn't just sign this for billionaires. He signed it for you, okay? He didn't fill the skies with B-2s and F-35s for show. He did it to remind every foreign power and every swamp politician that America's back in the driver's seat. So when you see the headlines saying he beat us, just go ahead and smile at those, because it means the good guys, the smart, strategic, patriotic fighters who love this country are winning again. And the ones who spent years telling you, that it was impossible, well, they're on the steps crying. So if you appreciate the daily news updates and this update, hit the like button, share this video, make sure you're subscribed, and we'll see you on the next video.